I think C9's wins and losses are heavily going to be based on Rush's performance. You'll always notice him. Either he will get a bunch of kills or he'll have a bunch of deaths.
Here comes the engaged Rush. Will go down. It's a 1-for-1.
It's still a hype match because it's still the big old organizations playing against each other.
We know a lot about them, they know a lot about us, so it's going to be a match about just who can execute their plans better.
It's week 3 in the North American League Championship Series, and today teams will continue to slug it out for regional dominance. Now to cheer them on, we've got a packed house here in Los Angeles, and the crowd is fired up for another 5 games. Earlier, the fans were lined up, showing lots of support for Cloud9 and Immortals. Now inside Gate and the rest of the Team Impulse are getting prepared for their game against Dignitas. So you see here, Kiwi Kid and Apollo ready to bring their bot lane synergy to the Rift alongside last week's birthday boy, Shifter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the 2016 Spring Split. I'm James Dash Patterson, along with Joshua Jat Leesman and Mr. David Freak Turley. Good day, gentlemen.
Hello.
Good.
I like the sign from the
Good
Cloud9
day.
fan. Yo, Jensen, body these fools. It's caught on that quickly.
Yeah, that was all you.
Yeah, entirely. It was Cloud9's creation.
Okay.
They are the ones who bodied the fools.
They did. They very much did. So we'll see if they can do that again today. Let's pull up the standings and run through how the teams are lined up. Holding first place, it's the undefeated Immortals. Energy are in second with half the league tied in third place, each holding 2 wins and 2 losses. Fox and Renegades drop down into 8th with Team Liquid, who are on the board with 1 win and 3 losses. That's how the teams start the day, and we'll see how that order changes after our 5 games, starting with Impulse versus Team Dignitas. In Game 3, Liquid will take on Energy Esports, and we'll close out the day with Immortals looking for their 5th straight win against Renegades. Now in Game 2, though, it's our match of the week with Cloud9 versus TSM. Now C9 and TSM are the 2 most successful teams in the history of the NALCS. Between them, they hold all but 1 of the championship titles, and 4 splits in a row they met in the finals. But this year, things are definitely a little bit more uncertain.
Yeah, it's really interesting watching these teams unfold. I'll start with TSM, and it's been weird because they've had painful but rapid growing pains here. Week 1 versus Week 2 TSM looked vastly different. Individual talent could not really carry them in the first week, and we saw that against the more structured teams like CLG. But even though both those weeks went 1-1, TSM, again, looked much, much better. And this is kind of what happens when you get 4 new players. And as they learn to trust Yellowstar, I think TSM are on a continued upward trajectory.
Yeah, and then you look at Cloud9, and they've been very inconsistent ever since High moved away from the mid lane. Whether he's at jungle, whether he's at support, whether Bunny's at support, it has very different results. But typically when High is in the lineup, they're on an upward trajectory. And Freak, I heard I wasn't looking at you. Production
No, it's
during
fine.
the fist bump.
No.
So
now we're even.
Now we're even. So see, usually
all is well
one
in the
wrong
world.
does not mean another wrong is okay. So
Right.
like mine was unintentional.
Yeah.
Freak's was intentional.
Yeah.
So this is how relationships are burned.
We're watching it disintegrate in front of our eyes here today. Well, there continues to be, they're doing it again. There continues to be a lot of volatility in the LCS. Just about the time when you think you can peg where a team falls in the pack, there's a huge surprise that throws it all into question once again. Now, the latest was Team Impulse, who took down Cloud9, then Renegades on their way to a perfect 2-0 week.
Yeah, and huge surprise. Like, how did Team Impulse go 2-0 after their performance in Week 1? Seraph came in for 1 game, Gate moved to top lane for another. There was actually speculation that Team Impulse would be 0-18 after their 0-2 start. That's impossible now because they're already 2-2, and a lot of people think they can take down Team Dignitas today.
Yeah, and we've heard it from Gate himself, right? He has been saying, even before Week 1, in a couple videos that we had of him, people are already counting us out, and he was encouraging them not to do so. Well, it looks like they're in a position to back up what he's saying.
It's going to be interesting watching what TIP really does here because, we had an interview with Mash, actually. He talked with the score, and they asked him about, what's your team like? And he's like, well, we have to speak in really, really broken English. Like saying I slow push top is almost pushing it. So it's coordination is a bit hard for them. At the same time, though, I actually talked with Team Dignitas earlier today, and I asked them, how do you feel about the new guys on TAP? And they said that, well, actually, they think that Pyrion's actually pretty good. So they have respect for at least some of this lineup here. So, we'll see how it shapes up. It's going to be an awkward transition, though, because it's not really a one-language team by any means.
Well, they definitely have confidence in their roster. Another team that should have confidence in their roster would be the Immortals, finishing 2-0 again last week, the only undefeated team that we have left. And for those of you playing along at home, that means Huni and Reignover's regular season victory total is up to 24 in a row.
And they have looked mostly unstoppable. Their closest game was against Team Solomid, and that was actually a very close match. But their coordination and also their ability to play from behind. People keep talking about, Huni and his tiltability, but how tiltable are you as a top lane if you have an undefeated regular season? Yes, he has bad starts to games that turn into very bad starts to games, but he actually ends up winning a lot of those games at the end of the day. So I like the mental fortitude of this team, and I think they have a really good chance of being best team in NA.
Fair enough. Well, while we're in the calm before the storm, be sure to head over to Twitter and join in on the conversation. Today, we're asking which new NALCS player has been the most impressive this split and why. Send your thoughts to @LolEsports with the hashtag NALCS and stay tuned to see if we read your tweet later in the broadcast. Now, that's enough chatter from this end of the studio, though. Right now, we're going to pass it off to our casters to get the games underway.